The most awful kiss I've ever had. Now, 45 years later, Sally Field tells the shocking truth about Smokey and the Bandit. For example, Burt Reynolds' secret drug use and the bad story she almost turned down. There are shocking new details about why Field wouldn't talk to Reynolds for the last 30 years of his life after she revealed what really happened on the set of the 1977 movie. Let's check out the facts. Wednesday, November 6, 1946, in Pasadena, California, Sally Field. Both of these worlds had a big impact on her life. As a child, Sally was exposed to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood through her mother, Margaret Field, who worked as an actor for Paramount Pictures. In addition to strict rules and structure, her Army officer father, Richard Dryden Field, made her life more orderly. Sally became strong and robust because of this mix of showiness and order. The split happened when Sally was only 4 years old. Her memories of that terrible event would stay with her forever. Later, in 1952, her mother got married to stuntman and actress Jock Mahoney. That marriage didn't make Sally happier, though. It made her life darker. Later, in her 2018 book In Pieces, Sally told the terrible truth. Mahoney abused her when she was a teenager. This secret affected how she saw the world and herself for many years. Despite the pain at home, Sally found a way to get away. Watching the magic of Hollywood come to life, she spent a lot of time on movie sets with her mother. He made her love playing and telling stories. At school, Sally started acting as a way to express herself and get away from her difficult home life. Her natural talent for performing was found when she was at Portola Middle School and then Birmingham High School in Van Nuys. Her love of acting grew beyond a hobby, her way of dealing with everything going on in her life. At age 17, Sally went to a high school party that turned out to be the most important weekend of her life. Someone with experience in finding abilities saw her and suggested she try out for an acting workshop at Columbia Studios. The idea that started this small thing grew into something much bigger. Sally worked hard for 8 weeks at the class, a young actor learning how to act with other talented kids. She grew through the tough training. Her acting skills struck Marcia Levy, a casting director who was looking for new faces for a new TV show at the time. People noticed Sally because she was naturally charming and her acts had a lot of emotional depth. Sally got her first big part as the lead in Gidget in 1965. Frances Gidget Lawrence was a young surfer girl in Southern California, and this TV show followed her life. 18-year-old Sally beat out 75 other actors to get the part. This made Gidget real and likable, especially for teenage watchers. While the show was fun and new, it stopped after only 1 season, airing in September 1965. The very last show airing in April 1966. Lots of people thought this would ruin Sally's career before it even started, but something unexpected happened. Gidget reruns were a big hit this summer, especially with teens. Unexpectedly, Sally became famous and showed that she could connect with people. Sally was looking for a new job after Gidget ended. She ended up playing the lead role in The Flying Nun because of that. When this strange show started on September 7, 1967, Sally played Sister Burt Reynolds, a young nun who could fly because she was so light and wore a big cornet. Although the concept was unusual, Sally's warmth and charm made Sister Burt Reynolds a figure that people loved. The popular show had 3 seasons with a total of 82 episodes. Backstage, though, Sally was having a hard time. It was later revealed that she didn't enjoy working on The Flying Nun. Actually, she said she hated it. She was in her mid-20s when the early 1970s came around, and she really wanted to play mature and complicated roles. It really annoyed her that Hollywood kept giving her the same sweet, innocent parts. In the 1972 movie Stay Hungry, Field chose to take a big risk by not wearing a top. Many people in the business were shocked by this, including her friends. She wanted the move to show that she could play different parts, but it didn't go as planned. Others didn't see the movie, and it didn't change how people saw her. Field took a much riskier action because he felt stuck. Her refusal to do any comic work lasted for almost 3 years, from 1973 to 1976. Although this could have stopped her career, she was set on changing her image of being perfect. In the meantime, Field joined the renowned Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio in Los Angeles, where she trained. She worked hard at her training, going to sessions and practicing for long days. She hated her job so much that she considered quitting acting. She talked about how determined she was in an interview in 1976, saying that the fight had changed her. Through this time, Field wrote in her 2018 autobiography, In Pieces, how she struggled with depression and an eating problem. Overwhelming pressure was on her to change, but she wouldn't give up. With her part in Stay Hungry, one of the most important moments happened. Bob Rafelson directed the comedy drama about bodybuilding. Field played gym worker Mary Tate, who falls in love with Jeff Bridges' character, Craig Blake, a rich guy. A scene in this role where Field was partly naked shocked people. Later, she said, "I had never done anything like that before, and I wasn't sure I could," which meant she was scared to play the part that required her to be naked. Because she wanted to look good, she followed a strict diet and exercise plan and lost 10 pounds. Additionally, Arnold Schwarzenegger made his playing debut in this movie. Despite not having much acting experience, Field later said she respected how hard he worked as Joe Santo, a bodybuilder. Even though Stay Hungry came out in April 1976, it didn't do very well at the box office, making only $5 million. In spite of this, the movie developed a cult following over time, and critics praised Field's acting. Roger Ebert said that she was delicate and moving. In addition, Schwarzenegger won a Golden Globe for New Star of the Year for this movie, which was the start of his starring career. Later that same year, Field got the greatest part of her career in the TV miniseries Sybil. A woman with dissociative identity disorder was the focus of a story based on a true story. The condition was caused by severe childhood abuse. Field had to play 13 different characters other than Sybil, which was a very difficult part. Their voices, habits, and emotional range were all different. After studying the problem for 6 months, working with a dialect coach, and watching people in psychiatric wards, Field was ready. Knowing that it was her chance to show that she was a serious actor, she took the part very seriously. Shooting Sybil was very hard. It ran 12 weeks, and Field often worked 16-hour days. Sybil was tied to a table in a traumatic memory that she had to play out in an emotional scene. Although Field injured her shoulder during the scene, she insisted on finishing the take. She totally committed to the part and did her very best to deliver the best performance. There was a big audience for Sybil when it first aired on NBC in November 1976. There were over 92 million viewers, which is almost half of the US population at the time. Others said Field's performance was groundbreaking. Her emotional award speech for her first Emmy Award as Outstanding Lead Actress said, "This means more to me than I can possibly say. It proves everything I've been working for 10 years. Field's career was forever changed by the success of Sybil. Others saw her as a silly TV actress, but now they see her as a serious and skilled performer." Field described this big step forward by saying, "It was like I had been invisible before, and all of a sudden people could see me." Smokey and the Bandit gave Sally Field's career a big change in 1977. Sally was originally famous for her parts in TV shows like Gidget and The Flying Nun. The actress wasn't someone who came to mind for action films. Well-known actor Burt Reynolds demanded she play the part. The company first didn't agree. The producers wanted a beautiful performer, but Burt persuaded them she was great for the part. Starting filming in Georgia on May 23, 1977. There wasn't much money available, only $4.3 million, and it was very hot outside, usually around 35 degrees Celsius. The car rush scenes were especially hard to film because of this. It was the height of Burt's career, which was 41 years old, and Sally, who was 30 years old, was eager to leave her TV image behind and show herself in films. Even though there were problems, the set felt fun and lighthearted because Burt loved kidding everyone. After its debut on May 27, 1977, the movie became a surprise hit, earning over $126 million at the box office. There are now 2 sequels because it was so popular. Sally considered it a big step forward that helped her move from TV to films. Burt and Sally also started a relationship that would grow to be a big part of their lives. Sally and Burt had energy from the start that couldn't be denied. Within seconds, Sally wrote in her autobiography, in pieces, that they felt an instant bond. She said that we had only known each other for 3 or 4 days, but it felt like we had known each other for over 4 years. Their quick chemistry on screen made the connection between their characters seem real, which was a big part of the movie's success. They became attracted to each other quickly and started dating. Sally liked Burt's friendliness and confidence. The handsome Burt was 11 years older than Sally and was known for having a magnetic personality. Their team noticed how strong their bond was because they often spent time together between takes. According to Burt's co-star Jerry Reed, "You could cut the tension with a knife." Looking at them was like seeing 2 teens in love. Despite the excitement and desire that came with the beginning of their relationship, problems started to show up quickly. Sally started getting more attention, which made Burt feel uncomfortable because he was used to being the center of attention. In a movie promotion event, more people wanted Sally's name than Burt's, which made Burt look angry. One small example of the problems they would face together as their relationship grew. Sally later said it was intense, but also hard to understand and do. She said there were good feelings and care, but also a lot of issues. One of the biggest problems was how controlling Burt was. In her autobiography, she said, "From the moment I walked through the door, it was a way to control me." Burt kept trying to tell her what to do with her life and work, which was very stressful. Norma Rae, which Sally Field starred in 1979, changed her life forever. At first, she wasn't supposed to play the part. Superstars like Jane Fonda were thought about. Sally did everything she could when she had the chance. She trained by working for weeks in a real textile mill in Alabama. She wanted to know what a working-class woman's life was like. She was bold on set. One of her most famous moves is standing on a table while holding a Union sign. Shooting the scene took place in a hot and noisy mill, and Sally had to do it over and over again until it was right. People liked the movie a lot. $220 million was a lot of money back then. Reviewers really liked Sally's act. Others said that she made her character tough but also weak, which made them feel very real. That year, Sally got her first Oscar for Best Actress. During her speech, she thanked the director of the movie and the real woman who inspired her role. This showed everyone that Sally wasn't just a TV star. The parts she could play were deep and dramatic. France's Cannes Film Festival showed Norma Rae that same year. Sally was happy and scared at the same time. With Apocalypse, now director Francis Ford Coppola there, she wasn't used to being around famous people. For example, Sally packed clothes that were too warm for the cool weather. She had to wrap herself in the blanket from the hotel to keep warm. Sally felt scared in the theater when her movie played at the festival. When the movie was over, there was quiet at first, which made her think that people didn't like it. For 10 minutes, they stood up and applauded. Sally was too stressed out. After a few days, she won the Cannes Award for Best Actress. She showed the world how skilled she was at a very important event. Her marriage to Burt Reynolds started to fall apart as her career took off. Sally and Burt had been dating since 1976, but Burt didn't seem happy about her success. He helped her at first, but when she started winning awards and getting more attention, he pulled away and was jealous. He told her she wouldn't win anything when she told him she was going to Cannes. Burt's behavior got worse as time went on, and she won more awards. When he sulked or said mean things, Sally could tell that their bond was weakening. Bad things happened before the 1980 Oscars. Even though Sally was up for Best Actress, Burt wouldn't go with her. Some magazines thought he was making fun of her by saying that Hollywood didn't care about real acting. Despite being hurt, Sally didn't give up. The Steinbergs, her friends David and Judy, offered to drive her to the event. The night was fun because they picked her up in a car with champagne. Sally smiled at the cameras and told them that Burt had to go somewhere else right away on the red carpet. The Oscar went to Sally that night. When she thanked the people who helped her with the movie, she looked so happy on stage. She never talked about Burt. His disappearance showed how much things had changed between them. Things were never the same between them, even though they stayed together for a few more years. They couldn't get back together because of Sally's success. At the same time, Sally Field's career reached a major turning point when, for Places in the Heart, she won her second Oscar. That was only 5 years after her first Oscar, which she won for Norma Rae in 1979. Her performance showed that she was one of the best actresses in Hollywood. She played Edna Spaulding in the movie, a widow in Texas in 1935 who was trying to rescue her farm and take care of her family during the Great Depression. Sally didn't want the part at first. Her 3 turns down were because she thought it was too much like her role in Norma Rae. Bobby Benton, the director, wouldn't give up. He even went to her house and talked to her for hours about the part. To get ready, Sally lived with a family in Texas. Even killing chickens was something she learned how to do. She worked hard, and everyone loved how she did. Her Oscar speech also became well-known. According to Sally, "I can't deny that you like me right now. I appreciate that you like me. It's often misquoted as you like me. I think you like me a lot." Critics said her first Oscar win was just luck, so she used this line to show them they were wrong. It became a famous moment, the subject of conversation today. Thereafter, Sally proved she could play many parts. Different films, Steel Magnolias, 1989, and Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, starred her. She played Malin, a mother in Steel Magnolias who was in pain after the death of her daughter Shelby. Many people think that the scene at her funeral was one of her best on screen. Many well-known people were in the movie, like Dolly Parton and Julia Roberts. It also made a lot of money. Sally wasn't the first person who was considered for the part, which is somewhat interesting. After Meg Ryan and Deborah Winger, they were offered it but turned it down. Sally and Robin Williams played roles together in the comedy Mrs. Doubtfire, which was about a dad who pretends to be a nanny to see his kids. Miranda's mom was played by Sally. Her fear that Robin's sense of humor would overpower her made her initially decline the part. But the director's assurance that they could work together on improvised scenes convinced her to accept. By mistake, the movie had a funny moment. The fake nose that Robin was wearing stuck to her shoe when she stepped on it. It was a huge success, earning over $441 million. Sally became more adult as she grew up. 1994 in the movie Mrs. Gump, which starred Tom Hanks. In real life, Sally was only 10 years older than Tom, but with makeup and outfits, she looked like she was older. Some shots required hours of work in the makeup chair to make her look older. A Screen Actors Guild Award was given to her because of how well she did her job. Sally played a lead role in Where the Heart Is with Natalie Portman in 2000. Through this movie, Sally played mother figures to a younger group of players. She helped Natalie get used to being in the spotlight and became a guide to her behind the scenes. Then Sally shocked everyone in 2002 by going to Broadway. She played the lead role in the scary play The Goat, or Who is Sylvia? She did a great job, and it showed she could do more than just films and TV. A lot of things happened to Sally in the 2000s. Again, Sally Field became well known for her part as Nora Walker on the TV show Brothers and Sisters. As of the first episode, which aired on September 24, 2006, Betty Buckley plays Nora. The directors gave Sally the part because they thought it needed something different. This was a great move because she made Nora come to life in a way that made people love her. It was news to Nora that her husband had been cheating on her. Besides that, she had to deal with the problems of her grown children. 5 seasons and 109 episodes made up the show. Sally got to show how skilled she is on it. She made Nora's story about heartbreak, finding herself, and growing seem very real. Sally got an Emmy for her work at the 59th Primetime Emmy Awards in 2007. It was special to win because she hadn't won an Emmy for Sybil in 30 years. But her speech made the event even more well-known. She spoke out against war, saying that there would be no bad wars at all if moms ran the world. Fox, the network that showed the show, cut her off after she said God and didn't let her finish. People had a lot to say about free speech and whether it's okay to talk about politics at award shows. Playing Mary Todd Lincoln in the 2012 movie Lincoln was another big moment in Sally's career. Acquiring this part wasn't simple. Steven Spielberg had wanted her for the part since 2005. What happened to the movie, though, was very different. To look more like Mary Todd Lincoln, Sally put on 25 pounds and learned a lot about her life. Spielberg agreed to let her try out, and she did a part with Tommy Lee Jones, who was also in the movie. The big moment happened when she met Day-Lewis as a character. They made up stories about Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln for hours. Spielberg and Day-Lewis were then sure she was the right person for the part. Sally played Mary Todd in Lincoln, and she was a difficult person, but going through a lot of mental pain. Mary was sad about the deaths of her children while she helped her husband fight in the Civil War. People really liked Sally's acting in the movie, which came out on November 9, 2012. The Academy Award and the Golden Globe were among the awards that she was up for. The part was thought to be one of her best ever, even though she didn't win. A special award was given to Sally in 2023. It is one of the oldest and most prestigious groups in the United States. She was admitted to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Not long ago, Sally Field told some shocking facts about Smokey and the Bandit. She talked about her kiss with Burt Reynolds in a movie in 2022 and said it was the worst she had ever heard. She wasn't shy about telling him, it's just not something he did very well, and she even made a joke about the drooling. Fans were shocked because they seemed to get along so well on TV. The movie didn't interest Field at first. She said in 2018 that she thought the writing was terrible when she read it. Burt Reynolds agreed that the story wasn't great, but he told her they could make it work by improvising. A lot of what moviegoers liked about it came from the actor's creativity on set, not from the writing. Why Reynolds wanted Field in the movie is funny. In an old TV show called Gidget, he told her he loved her. When Field saw Gidget, he was confused and thought, really? Thus the reason for his desire for me. It took a while, but it all worked out in the end. The US made $126 million from Smokey and the Bandit, which was a big success. After its release, 2 more films were made, and it was one of the most popular films of the 1970s. Field and Reynolds' real friendship was a lot more complicated than what it seemed like in the movie. In her autobiography, Field wrote that their bond was strong and instant. Because of how quickly they became close, she said the first 4 days on set felt like 4 years. But things weren't really good. At the time, Reynolds was 41 years old, and Field, who was 30 years old, saw that he was doing a lot of drugs. He took drugs like Valium and Percodan, and even got some strange shots in his chest. Field was worried about Reynolds and wanted to help. He was going to see a doctor at the Miami Heart Institute, which he set up in secret. His health report was good, but she told him he needed to get help for his worry and stress. Reynolds laughed at her attempts and said they were self-delusional nonsense. Their relationship had a lot of problems. Field said it had all the flaws of a perfect fit. Even though they had a rough relationship, Reynolds later said he felt terrible about how he treated Field. He told Vanity Fair in 2015, "I miss her so much," and called her the love of his life. "There's no reason for my stupidity." Field said that Reynolds and she hadn't talked in 30 years, which was deeply sad. Besides this one romance, Sally Field has been married twice before. Her first marriage began when she met her husband in high school. This happened in Las Vegas on September 16, 1968. Stephen was 23 and Sally was 21. Looking forward to the future, they took their honeymoon to Jamaica. Not everything went as planned, though, and the marriage was both fun and hard. The couple had 2 sons during their 7 years together. Michael was born on October 10, 1969, and Eli was born on May 25, 1972. Both of them went into show business like their mom. Peter worked as a famous author on films like The Batman, Top Gun, and Maverick. The cult comedy Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was Eli's first movie as a director. There were some good times when Sally and Stephen were parents, but their relationship started to fall apart. In the end, Sally said she got married to Stephen for the wrong reasons. It scared her to lose him, and she wanted her life to be steady. When Stephen quit working in Hollywood and became a hippie, things got even worse. Their kids spent time at both Sally's house in Brentwood and Stephen's commune, which gave them very different childhoods. Even though they were no longer together in 1973, the divorce wasn't finalized until August 1, 1975. Stephen remained interested in his son's life even after they got divorced. For Peter to get back on track after dropping out of high school, Stephen gave him a hard building job in Oregon. It showed how complicated their family was, but how linked they were still. After many years, Sally got married a second time. She tied the knot with film director Alan Grisman on December 15, 1984. This took place after her famous breakup with Burt Reynolds. Sally wanted to start over, and Alan seemed like the stable person she needed. Hit films like Fletch and The Bucket List were made by him. Benjamin Samuel was born on December 2, 1987. Being a mom again made Sally, who was 41, very happy. Samuel became a writer and director as an adult, just like both of his parents. But this relationship had problems, even though she wanted to be married for a long time. When Sally joked, "I'm not very good at marriage," she was referring to the problems she had in her marriage. Because of their busy jobs and family obligations, they probably grew apart. In June 1994, after being together for almost 10 years, Sally and Alan split up. Sally focused on being a single mom to Samuel while also working as an actress, which showed how strong she was and how much she cared for her family. In later years, Sally became known for more than just acting. She was an activist. After her 19-year-old son, Sam, came out as gay, she fought hard for LGBTQ+ rights. Saying, "Sam has always been Sam, this amazing person," Sally stood by him fully. Because she loved him so much, she became determined to fight for everyone's rights. So many states don't have laws that protect LGBTQ+ people, and she worked hard to bring this to people's attention. She won the Ally for Equity Award from the Human Rights Campaign in 2012. The award was given by Sam, who told her how much her help meant to him, especially after he came out. Also, Sally spoke out for women's rights and against unfair treatment of women in Hollywood. She stood up for what she thought in a brave way in her famous 2007 Emmy speech, in which she said, "If mothers ran the world, there would be no goddamn wars." She did more than that. Sally also cared about the earth and took part in campaigns and protests. In 2017, she was even arrested for speaking out against changes to healthcare that would hurt people who already had health problems.